Hey, what's up everyone? Basil the White Dragon Masters, once again at the movies. As you can tell, I'm at the AMC 16 Theater in Burbank. I have a review for a film right above me, the poster. Yep, Ben-Hur. You know, of course this is a movie that I was going to see regardless of what Rotten Tomatoes gave it or regardless of what the reviews were, because Ben-Hur is actually an old movie that came out sometime in the 1960s, I believe, with Charlton Heston, which is a classic actor who played Judah Ben-Hur. Now, fortunately for me, because I have seen the original Ben-Hur, this one didn't even scratch the surface. However, if the original Ben-Hur was a 10 out of 10, I will be merciful with this one and I'll give it a 7 out of 10, and I'll tell you why. The original Ben-Hur had extraordinary amount of classic, beautiful dialogue delivery, had a lot of substance, because you got to remember, the classic Ben-Hur was a good 4 hours long. It was a film that was 4 hours long, and what we had in there was extraordinary amount of substance because of the amount of film footage that we had on it. Obviously, the breakdown of all the characters, such as the character of Ben-Hur himself, the character of Masala, which was the lead villain of this movie, the family of Ben-Hur, the synergy between the family and Masala. At the same time, of course, this was happening during the time of Christ. So during the Roman occupation in Jerusalem, and at the time simultaneously everything that Jesus Christ was doing himself. So in the old Ben-Hur, the role of Jesus was extremely limited. In fact, in those days it was very controversial to have a prophet, any prophet really, to show his or her face. Well, actually not her, his face. So there were barely any dialogues given to Jesus in the old film. It was mostly revolving around Ben-Hur and his family, which is why the old one is going to be a lot more superior to this one because of its classic nature. It's just like saying that, you know, there cannot be another Casablanca, there cannot be another Ben-Hur. So that was a solid 10 out of 10. Extreme amount of substance. Original storyline was great. I loved it. However, this one, the one that I gave 7 out of 10, it's a catch-22 because this movie wasn't really, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. I will tell you this. Let's start off with the intro. The intro was extremely weak. It didn't catch you at all. The director obviously was going a different direction with this one. And what they also did was they completely, absolutely changed the entire, the story is changed. It has somewhat relevance to the original film, but there's a lot of change. Way too much change. In fact, it was, because I've seen the old one, to me it was a little bit strange because there were lots of twists and a lot of turns. In fact, almost felt like a different movie at some point. Now, let's go on. So that was something that turned me off a little bit, which is one number went down because of that. Secondly, because you got to remember, before we go there, you got to be consistent with the storyline. And if you want to change it, you can't change it too much from the original, because then it's no longer Ben-Hur, it's another movie. But anyway, there were some parts in this film that absolutely made me want to cringe, because they actually had them, this has got to be absurd. The wardrobe. Some areas, the wardrobe was so absurd. I can't believe they actually had Ben-Hur wearing jeans. I didn't know Levi's existed in Jesus' time, or in the ancient times, but it was the most absurd thing. I didn't expect it. Big no. No one wears jeans during the Roman occupation in Jerusalem during Jesus' time. No. So that was, Mr. Director, come on. So that was one major reason why I gave it another number low, because it's unacceptable for that. Thirdly, Morgan Freeman is a complete miscast for this film. He is one major reason why nobody would take Ben-Hur seriously, because you got to remember, Morgan Freeman doesn't really have. There's a certain type of character that he can play, and there's certain type of characters that he can't play. He was certainly not designed to be in a old school British-oriented or British-voiced ancient film type thing. He just doesn't have that acting skill. He doesn't have an ability to change his accent. He sounds exactly the same in every single movie, whether it is a movie made in New York City or a movie made in ancient Jerusalem. So he was a miscast, which is one major reason why I had to give this a lower number to 7. Yeah, overall, I could say that the acting of everyone, besides Mr. Freeman, because it was all right. It was exactly what you paid for. You get Morgan Freeman. It's the same guy now. It's the same guy then. There's no really much difference. But the guy who played Ben-Hur, he was pretty good. He was pretty good. Everybody else did a good job. Masala could have been better. Masala could have definitely been better. I feel like he didn't have the ferocity of that character that was required. But you know what? Ultimately, this movie wasn't bad, and why I gave it a 7 out of 10 is because the message was different. Of course, this time they took a known actor to play Jesus, which was a good start. They took a guy called Rodrigo Santoro. He was the guy who played Xerxes in 300, and he looked a lot like Jesus. He wasn't a miscast at all. He wasn't a miscast. So the message of this movie at the very end was completely different from the message of the old movie. This movie, I think they gave Jesus a little bit more weight, a little bit more weightage in this movie that influenced the film and changed it. So I think this was more designed like a Christian movie. But you know what? Do I recommend this? Absolutely, guys. Check it out. The chariot scene, the most pinnacle part of this film, which was the chariot race. The chariot race was good, but it wasn't great. Nowhere near the classic. I mean, if you guys find this one brutal, you should see the original one with Charlton Heston. That is crazy. However, what they did improve in this movie was the actual slave ship thing. There was a scene in the old one in this which he was captive to slave, and they had that slave ship when the Persians took over. In this movie, it was the Greeks. And overall, guys, 7 out of 10. Check it out. If you are a fan of Ben-Hur, you're not going to hate this one. This is absolutely, it's okay. Definitely worth a watch. Big screen, you're going to enjoy it even more. So 7 out of 10. I recommend Ben-Hur, the new one, guys. Basil the White Dragon Masters, out. Yeah.